Yeah, I'm ready to go.
All right, I'm ready as well from Hurricane New Orleans. Welcome to Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Jason.
I'm Bill, and I know we said we weren't going to do it this week, but Jason has power, at least temporarily, so we're going to give it a shot.
Yeah.
And then I'll go up on social media, let everybody know we're going to do the show. But Jason, why don't you just take about a minute, 2 minutes, just tell everybody about your week.
Our house is still livable, which is more than a lot of people can say down here. We got our power back today after basically 7 days with no power in 104-degree temperatures. It's been very trying. We're very fortunate, but a lot of our friends and family are not. So anyone that wants to help, there's plenty of people you can reach out to and help. There's some areas that aren't going to get power back till October, they said. And living without power in the South is absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
No fans, no air, no way to keep your food cold. And tensions are high down here, and people are really struggling. So, in nice ways, a lot of the local restaurants, instead of throwing out their food, we're cooking it and handing out hot meals to people. It's been a lot. And, like I said, we're very fortunate that we had minor damage to our house, and it looks like we're going to have power for the foreseeable future, but it could go off at any minute, so we don't really know. But, yeah, just...
Well, interestingly enough, seeing, times like this bring out the best of people and the worst of people.
It's true.
And that's what you have. And I mean, it's unfortunate you have to see it, but you see the best and the worst.
Indeed. And hopefully this will add to a better infrastructure in the power grid in New Orleans moving forward. That's my hope.
Hopefully so. It worked for the levees, so maybe we'll see if they do the power structure better and start burying some cable.
Yes, indeed. And, my food moments were all peanut butter and jelly and soup, so I won't have any later in the day.
All right, well, let's start with college football.
Yes.
I knew there were, I saw them hyping the Alabama-Miami game, and I was thinking to myself, you can hype this all you want. This is not going to be a good game. And it wasn't. It was a blowout. I mean, I knew Miami could not handle Alabama's pressure. And Alabama's quarterback, had played a couple of games, but, he looked really good. So Alabama is what Alabama is. I mean, they're always going to be good. Now, contrast that with Clemson, which really surprised me last night because Clemson was totally outmanned, even though the score of the game was close. The quarterback ran for his life the entire game. The offensive line had a difficult time blocking anybody. And a lot of times Georgia would bring 5 or 6 people because they knew they'd fan him on the run. He couldn't throw deep, couldn't beat him. And it was tough. He got sacked 7 times. And I think last year, Clemson gave up 20 sacks for the year.
Yeah.
So really, really difficult. And Georgia looked very, very good on defense. And they looked all right on offense. But, Clemson's got a good defense. It's hard to say how good Georgia really is on both sides of the ball. But defensively, they look really, really good.
Yeah, they have some monsters in that front set.
Like they've got some problems.
Yeah.
And if you can't block, if you can't protect, that's a whole different ballgame.
No. And as you said, Tulane, who comes from New Orleans down here, they almost pulled off an upset in Norman, Oklahoma. So.
Yes. And I would have loved to have seen that upset. But speaking of upsets, shout out to the Montana Grizz for beating Washington.
Yeah.
For the first time since 1920. And, Montana's always a great 1AA team. And so, they just got their act together. It was a low-scoring game. They played good. They played good defense. They're a fast team. They're fun to watch. I'm going to watch, and then shout out to UCLA. Chip Kelly's always had a system, and it looks like now he might have the players at UCLA to go with the system he had at Oregon. So I am optimistic about what UCLA does this year.
Yeah, I would like to see UCLA be good again. Los Angeles football is a good football team to have.
Yeah, and my only criticism was I love the powder blue shade of UCLA. I like the blue they had last night, but I missed the really light pale blue. I like that even better.
Yeah, that's
really
really
good.
good.
They played fun. They were fun to watch. They beat an SEC team, which is supposedly much more physical than the Pac-12 team. So we'll see. And while we're on college sports, I expect the announcement to be imminent that the Big 12 will expand with 4 schools: UCF, Houston, Cincinnati, and BYU. I was not a proponent of this initially, but once ACC and Big Ten had their discussions and decided they weren't going to merge, and the SEC had already taken the two plums.
Yeah.
They really didn't have any recourse other than do this expansion. They pick up three nice media markets, and they pick up BYU, who has a national following. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know if their television contract money is going to be the same without Texas and Oklahoma. Probably not, but it won't drop as far as it is. And I guess the best thing is the Big 12 is actually 12.
Yeah, and I can say I'm a Big 12 alumni now.
Yeah, that's right. You are Big 12, just like me.
Yeah.
Big 12 alumni.
And I think it's going to be really good for UCF because they built a nice little program down there. The stadium's really fun to go to. And it's a huge university. It's like 70,000. It's one of the largest universities. It's like top 10 as far as
second largest in the country, Arizona State.
Second largest. There you go. And like I said, they've done a really nice job. They built that program up really nicely organically with the stadium that kind of shakes a little bit. They've got a nice tailgating area. And now big alumni base. I think that's, now in the Big 12, a little more national attention. Like, it'd be really, really good for that school.
They've done really well. I agree. They had a great athletic director, but building the stadium on campus was a turning point.
Yeah.
Once they get people to start going to games, and follow, bring alumni back, bring support back, bring safety back, it was a good move. So we'll see where it goes. And
like I said, they built the right size stadium on campus with really good, so there's some bars right around there. There's some tailgating areas. Like they're doing college football the way you'd want college football to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see where they go. And speaking of UCF, Taco Fall was a free agent and signed with the Cavaliers.
I know. He seems like a little bit like Boban down in Dallas. Like he's a giant man that people just love to be around.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Just saw that signing this week. I'll be watching Notre Dame, Florida State tonight to see if who's overhyped or who's underhyped in that matchup. But it's been a fun week. Fun week for college football, college sports. Nice to have it back.
Yeah, and I guess the only other story before we get to more NFL previews is Ben Simmons officially says he's not coming to camp. And I don't know what you do if you're Philly at this point. You have a depreciated asset who's still an incredible talent. And you got Joel Embiid who's, I think if you have a guy like Joel Embiid who's an incredible talent, one of the best players when healthy, but given that he's a 7-footer with former health problems, you don't have a lot of time to wait, You got to get a team around him as fast as you can. And I don't know what that's going to be, but you no longer, I don't think you get Zach LaVine straight up for Ben Simmons anymore. So it's
you're going to get, like we talked a little bit last week, you're going to get damage for damage.
Yeah. But I think if you're Philadelphia and you're Daryl Morey, I think at this point, it's going to be hard to rehab him and bring him back in the building after last year, the way the Philadelphia fans and media are reacting, the way Doc Rivers threw him under the bus, the way the Philadelphia fan. I think he's somewhat of a sunk cost, and you may end up looking bad in the trade, but I think it's something you got to just pull the trigger on and move forward.
I agree, and that's what's going to happen. You got to go. You got to get what you can get at this point in time.
Yeah.
And you got to find a buyer who can take the salary cap.
Mm-hmm.
So, interesting times. Well, Jason and I are both playing fantasy football this year.
Yeah.
And we're together again. The last time we were together, I loved our time together because we had Brett Favre, and that was my favorite fantasy player we ever had. Because I could root for him, and he was a riverboat gambler. And some days he gave me 6 touchdowns, some days he gave me 4 interceptions. But I love Brett Favre as a fantasy player. So we'll keep you up to date as our fantasy. We'll add a fantasy update each week as we go through this. So we'll start with next week because we have a lot of stuff to cover today.
Yeah, and considering we did a snake draft on auto draft because I had no access to power or internet, we ended up doing pretty well. We're pretty happy with our team moving, forward, and we'll see what we can do. But the league says we're going to win based on preseason number crunching.
And our teaser is our quarterbacks are Dak Prescott and Trevor Lawrence.
Yes.
So we'll see how that works out for us.
And our first round pick was one Travis Kelce.
Yes.
Who seems to go for 100 and a touchdown every week.
Who do you want to start today?
Let's start out west. Let's start with let's go difficult first. Let's go maybe the most difficult conference, the NFC West.
Wow, that is the most difficult conference.
I mean, I think fourth place is pretty easy. I think we're both going to have the Arizona Cardinals, I assume. Or maybe
It's so hard for me because, they could be the third place team. They could be the second place team. I don't think they could be the first place team, but
No.
they could be anywhere all over there. And fourth place might be, in this conference, could be 9-8.
Yeah, very easily.
Teams could have a winning record.
But
I agree with you. I would probably go with them first.
My reservations,
The Seahawks could flip down.
My reservations with Arizona is, I'm still not in love with the coach. I liked his COVID home shots. He looked like he's balling out pretty large down there, but I don't, he doesn't have a huge successful record in the pros or in college overall. I think the defense is still a little shaky, especially in the secondary. And then, we love to love, like the little guy, but Kyler Murray looks very small and he takes some big hits. And I have a hard time believing that he's going to be able to stay healthy for 17 games now, unless he changes the way he plays a little bit. He's incredibly exciting to watch. But when you watch Lamar Jackson and you're watching Justin Fields this year, who we'll get to a little bit later, those are big dudes. When you look at Josh Allen, who also runs,
They're powerful dudes too.
They're big, powerful guys. And then you look at little guys that do run, like Russell Wilson's like somewhat more of a fire engine. Like he's thick, and he never really takes a hit. Where Kyler Murray is, he's taking some just brutal shots on a little tiny body, and I worry about that long term.
Well, I'll go third. I'll probably keep Arizona fourth, knowing they could flip flop. I'm going to go Seattle third.
Really?
Yeah, and I know they're good, but they've had too much drama for me. The offseason's had too much drama, and it always concerns me. And I love Russell Wilson. I don't know how the defense is going to be. I love the fact they play in a dome, and that takes a while. They have a great crowd, a great home field advantage. But third, to me, could be one game behind second.
And third might be
going to be the most wide open, most contested division that we see.
And I could see 3 teams from this conference making the playoffs, especially with the added playoff spot. I also have Seattle there. I think Seattle's going to be more consistent on offense because they have the Rams offensive coordinators up there now. They brought in Gerald Everett.
It's an adjustment period.
Yeah. But I think last year what you saw is they either ran the ball or they did play action and tried to chuck it deep. And I think if this guy brings in some of the Sean McVay innovation on offense, he brought Gerald Everett in, who I think is going to have a big year at tight end fantasy-wise too, if you're looking for a late-round tight end. Coming over from the Rams, already knows the system. Russell Wilson, I think he's going to be a nice safety valve. But I think, much like, a team we're going to talk about later, our beloved Steelers, if they get a little less predictable on offense, then I think it opens things up for, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett and really helps those guys out. But I still think they're coming in third.
Like I said, I think all 4 teams could have a winning record. And I think Seattle might finish a game behind my second place pick, which is the 49ers.
Also my second place team.
I just think that, I think the 49ers, a lot of people picking the 49ers to win the division. I just think you're always going to have a transition year, and you're still up in the air about your quarterback. I think they're going to be very, very good, but they can finish third as easily as they can finish second.
Yeah. And I know the most recent example of giving a guy reps at quarterback who's not your starting quarterback is down here in New Orleans, and they were literally a game away from the Super Bowl last year. So clearly it can work. But I think you really need the right mindset of your starting quarterback and everybody else, because it's very weird when you're bringing in, and at least with Drew Brees and what's his face? Why can't I remember him now?
Oh, Taysom.
Yeah, Taysom Hill.
Taysom Hill.
With Taysom Hill, there was never. He might have been Drew Brees' heir apparent. Obviously, he wasn't because they named Jameis Winston starting quarterback. But if you're Drew Brees, you're never worried that the guy coming in was going to take your job. Whereas if you're Garoppolo and you're getting pulled out, the fan base wants Trey Lance. The front office wants Trey Lance. The coaching staff wants Trey Lance. He's just not quite ready yet. So you're not just giving up reps and stats to a guy coming in for a couple plays here and there, but you're giving up to the guy everybody wants to take your job.
Yeah.
The guy that the second he's ready and shows he's ready is coming to get your job. And I think I don't know Jimmy G personally. He seems like he's been able to put up with a lot mentally, but I don't know how that. I feel like on a team, I think that might lead to some bad blood. I also think we both think the Patriots are going to make the playoffs now. We'll go a quick Mac Jones tangent, but I think one of the reasons is once he won the starting job, you couldn't keep Cam Newton. You had to get. You had that real bad competition for the quarterback position. You got guys in the locker room love Cam. Like he can't be around if Mac Jones you're gonna go with him. And now you've got
You traded up.
Yeah.
You Trey Lance. He didn't fall to you like Mac Jones fell to the Patriots. They traded up to get this guy.
Yeah.
So they indicated that this is the direction they're going to go, and you're like the guy holding the door.
And I think you've got Jimmy G, who's missed a lot of times over the last couple of years. And as good as Shanahan is a coach, and as much as I like the talent on that team, I do think second is their ceiling, because I think first place, we both have the Rams.
Yeah, there's no question. With that defense and with the offense they had, with a consistent quarterback, that's going to, be rejuvenated by playing in a system. He's got a huge arm.
Yeah.
He puts up numbers. He just put them up for a perennially bad team. And so this year, I think they're just going to. I don't think. I think the excitement and the enthusiasm and the fact that they have this talent, they're going to blow. They're going to win. They're going to win that division. They might win by 2 games. They might win by 3 games. It's going to be a highly contested division. Every one of those games can be a war. The toughest games they have are the ones in their division.
Yeah. I was absolutely shocked when Jared Goff got his extension, because it's never seemed the entire time he's been the quarterback down there. I know they went to the Super Bowl, so that's hard to take away from the guy, but it never seemed like they were happy with him at quarterback. And
Yeah.
I think they were the mindset, if we get everything else right, we can take this average quarterback and make it work. But when you watch them play, you were never, and again, I don't know why I need to say this every time, but I just feel the need to. In the context that he's obviously a great quarterback because he made it to the NFL, but in terms of NFL quarterbacks, he was definitely in the bottom half of the league. And
I'd give you bottom third.
Bottom third, yeah. And you watch, he didn't process well. Like, he came from a college situation where they cut the field in half, and most of his reads were on the same side, and he never developed. He never had the mental capacity to really be a great quarterback. And like you said, with Stafford,
We'll be talking more about him shortly, won't we?
We will be. But I think, they are very thin is the only problem. I think you have the best player in football in Aaron Donald. You got Jalen Ramsey. You've got a really nice, like you said, you got a really nice defense. You got Cooper Kupp. You got Robert Woods. You got Van Jefferson. Like, you've got a nice team all around him. You lost Cam Akers for the year, which is a bummer. He was supposed to be your starting running back. But if they can stay healthy, which obviously is a caveat for almost all these things, I think they're a real legitimate Super Bowl winning team.
Yeah, I do.
Well, do you want to stay out west and hop conferences?
Yeah, let's stay up west. Let's get to the AFC West.
Not quite as exciting, but still some pretty nice teams out there.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So who's your basement team?
This is tough. I think, well, no, I guess it's not that tough, is it? The basement team out there is probably, I guess I'm picking the Raiders.
Okay.
I like them the least. I think they have a coach in Gruden who is entertaining, but he seems like he's always wanting other players than the players he has, and I think that probably has a mental effect on your team. You had a really nice running back from Josh Jacobs, and you went and spent a bunch of money on Kenyon Drake, and you brought in a third running back on an already shaky offensive line. Henry Ruggs didn't show much as a rookie. Derek Carr is still your quarterback. You tried to trade back for Khalil Mack this year, apparently, is a rumor.
I've heard that rumor too, and that tells me a lot.
It tells me a lot as well.
I'm not sold on the GM either, besides the coach.
No.
He's got way too big of an ego. And I think they do things sometimes just to show they can do it, or look at me kind of things. I don't think I just don't think they're the answer. They're my last place team as well.
Yeah, they seem to be one of the organizations I would least want to be involved with. There seems to be a lot of instability and a lot of just, I haven't heard a lot of good things coming out of Raiders camp. So I don't like them at all. And again, like I said, I think we talked about it a little with Jimmy G, when you're the quarterback and you know that your coaches want you gone and they want somebody else, and the reason you're there is because you're the best option currently, it's never a good situation.
No, it's not. My third place team is going to be the Chargers.
That's my third place team. I thought that's where we were going to disagree.
No, I think that you get the danger of a sophomore slump.
Yeah.
And I really like him much more than I ever thought I would.
Oh yeah.
I just don't. And I think again, this is one like third place could be a game behind second place.
Yeah, like I think they're going to put up numbers.
Gap.
Yeah.
The gap is between 1 and 2, but not between 2 and 3.
No.
And obviously, we both have Denver at number 2.
Right.
And I hope this is the right place and the right opportunity for Teddy Bridgewater. But what's this, his 4th team?
I think this is his 4th team.
Yeah, I mean that speaks a lot. I mean, now granted, he could be another Ryan Tannehill.
It is,
he
but
finds the right spot, the right place, the right people around him, and the right coaches.
And I drove one of these, so I don't mean this is the insult it may sound like, but Teddy Bridgewater is very much a Toyota Camry. He's very much a Honda Accord. It's the standard quarter. He's a standard. It's fine.
Yeah.
You can get from point A to point B, but you're not going to get it. You're not going to win any races. People aren't going to be pulling over and asking you what you're driving, and But he's in a good situation where they've got an incredible defense, maybe the best defense in the league on paper. After the Rams,
great defense, and and he'll be better. He'll be a better solution. He'll be an upgraded quarterback over last year.
Yeah.
Now, can he stay healthy? Can he perform? Is he going to be asked to do what he can do, or are they going to expect more of him? But it's like I said, they could be second, they could be third, and it wouldn't surprise me if the Chargers finish second, they finish third. But I'm picking them to finish second because of the defense.
Yeah. Their defense is really good. Surtain only adds to it. Judy looked really good last year, and all the Pro Football Focus thinks he's going to be one of the better receivers this year. Cortland Sutton is coming back. Noah Fant at tight end has looked really good. He drafted the Jamal Williams out of North Carolina, who apparently they love and have been kind of keeping him under wraps during preseason to try to make sure he stays healthy. And again, it's just, can Teddy occasionally push the ball downfield? Because they had the Judy last year. He was open on more passes where the quarterback missed the throw than any other receiver in football. And Teddy Bridgewater was part of that, contingent of bad quarterback play. Not all of it, but some of it. So,
Let's see.
Yeah.
And then the next one's easy. We didn't spend any time on it. Kansas City, let's move to another conference.
Yeah.
What can you say? I mean, we didn't have to waste our time on this one. Kansas City, put them in the playoffs. Done.
Yeah. And I think, like Brady before, I think as long as Mahomes is a healthy quarterback, I can't imagine them ever finishing less than second in a division in almost any situation.
Agreed.
Yeah. So we're going to talk our favorite conference, the AFC North, last. So that takes us to the most boring conference, which is the NFC North.
Yes. And perennially in the basement, and Jared Goff is going to help keep them there, the Lions.
You know what's weird? I actually have the Bears in the basement.
I actually think the Bears will beat the Lions.
I
mean, they're both bad teams. Let's get that off our chest.
Yes.
But Justin Fields, at some point in time, Justin Fields is going to be the quarterback for the Bears.
He will be.
Jared Goff is still going to be the quarterback for the Lions.
The Bears might have
I think in a situation where Jared Goff is, where there's going to be even more expected of him than he was in LA, he's going to need to do more than he was able to do in LA. It's not going to happen.
No, I think the Lions are going to surprise a few teams this year, though. I think that coach has got them in the right division, like the right attitude. The Bears have no offensive line, and as we saw in the Super Bowl, no matter how good everybody is around you, if you can't block people, that's why I worry about Justin Fields moving forward. I don't even know if I want to see him take the field this year. I mean, selfishly, I like great quarterback play, but I don't want to see him get beat up and end up in a Robert Griffin situation or some sort of situation where they put him in a place, as much crap as that coach is taking, because clearly Andy Dalton is not the guy you want running your football team. I'd much rather put Justin Fields in bubble wrap, get him mental reps and practice reps this year, and put an offensive line that can protect him next year, and let the Red Rocket get the crap beat out of him this year.
Which will happen. I mean, I think the biggest challenge for the Bears is that they don't want to miss their quarterback.
No.
I mean, they don't want Andy Dalton to miss the quarterback.
No.
And so, that's you're going to have to adjust and say, it's hard probably to run out there every game, be excited thinking you're going to win, and knowing that's not the guy you want behind the center.
It's not. And again, maybe if they're able to get their offensive line a little bit, But either way, I don't think either of us think Detroit or Chicago has any chance in hell, as they say, of making the playoffs.
No, and I don't think Minnesota has a chance either. I mean, Kirk Cousins he's good for second place. He's not going to be the guy that leads your team to the promised land. It's just not going to happen.
No.
And I mean, he's overpaid. He's overhyped. And I mean, when I was looking through available quarterbacks in our fantasy league, he's available.
Yeah.
And he wasn't the number one guy that was still available. So that tells me all I need to know.
And I'm sure he's available to 31 NFL teams if they wanted to trade for him.
And assume that contract.
Yeah. I assume that would be a very easy deal to make. Yeah, I mean, you love the receivers. You love Dalvin Cook, top 4 fantasy pick. Both Thielen and I can't remember the rookie from last year. I mean, both those guys look great at receiver. I know Irv Smith got hurt at tight end, but I mean, it's a very solidly built football team. They're just not very exciting. They don't have the right pieces and the right quarterback. And despite all the drama, and there was way too much drama, and being one of the most unlikable players in football, it's hard to imagine anybody unseating Aaron Rodgers and the Packers in this division.
No. But I think there's if this is their Super Bowl run, they're not going to get there.
The Packers?
I mean, again, too much. They're going to win the division, but too much drama again. And too much angst and too much love and hate on this team. And, it just, you've got to have great chemistry, and I don't think this team has great chemistry.
Not even the great Randall Cobb can bring it back.
No.
Or if they,
I just don't see it. They'll win the division.
Yeah, but you can win that division, walking backwards in the snow a little bit with some talent on your team. Because you still have Devontae Adams, you still have, Jones in the backfield.
You have great players. You
have
some great players. You just don't have that esprit de corps that's going to move this team forward.
No.
It's been divided all year. You're either pro Aaron Rodgers or let's move on, and just coming back now and everything's great. I love you guys. It's not going to work.
No. And I know Aaron Rodgers has been very clear that his problem is with the general manager and the Packers organization and not the Packers players, yada, yada, yada. But I know it's an impossible situation because you can't trade Aaron Rodgers, right?
No.
But at the same time, and part of that is because 2 years ago you spent a first-round pick and traded up to get Jordan Love. And not that players can't develop later in life like the Rich Gannons of the world and people along those lines, but typically, if you've been in the league for 2 years and we haven't seen it, we're probably never going to see it. And again, that doesn't take anything away from the accomplishment of making the NFL, but that was the straw that broke Aaron Rodgers' back, and now you have an unhappy guy. And like you said, a lot of drama. I like a lot of other teams in the NFC better. Almost all the NFC West teams I like better than the Packers.
No question. No question. I think if you throw the Arizona Cardinals in that division, maybe they win.
I could see it easily. I could see any of those teams that win in that division. And again, I mean, you have a really disgruntled, wannabe Jeopardy host at quarterback who's an amazing player. Absolutely amazing. But, I almost thought they should have traded him this year. I don't know where, I don't know for who, but just, get the bad feelings out.
It's the one team where you could have made that trade and it wouldn't have affected attendance or any other thing.
No.
I mean, Green Bay's Green Bay.
And I think with the way Aaron Rodgers was talking about I think he alienated himself enough, again, that you could have walked away and at least your fan base would have been like, you looked at your 3 first-round future picks in Tua or whatever you ended up getting. I don't know what if it would have been Miami or some other team. And I think you'd have been pretty happy if you're the Packer fans. Now, maybe it amounts to nothing, and you watch Aaron Rodgers win a Super Bowl and it's a little bittersweet, but, I think he had played as he had talked his way out of the city where you could have walked away from him. But we'll see. Who knows?
We'll see. All right, AFC North time.
Yes. Well, I think we both have the Bengals coming in fourth place.
Improved Bengals, but still fourth place.
And yet, as improved as they are, I think, you could argue they should have taken an offensive tackle instead of Jamar Chase, and that's easier said now than ever because Jamar Chase does not look good. The best receiver in college football 2 years ago can't catch the football, even from his Florida quarterback in college. Burrow's been a little shaky after the knee. I thought they might be able to slowly start to turn it around, but they seem more and more like the Bengals every day. So I guess I should be thankful as a Steeler fan that the Bengals exist.
That's it. Number 3, unfortunately, I have the Steelers.
I do as well.
And that's the first time in my memory that I haven't picked them to win the division.
Yeah. There's been times where you feel like maybe the Ravens had the better team, but you still went with the Steelers in the organization. But yeah, this time, if we just talk, your presumed tackle is on injured reserved. One of your stud defensive tackles is on injured reserve to start. You're starting a 4th-round rookie who never played left tackle all preseason until last week is going to be your starting left tackle. The guy you wanted to be your left tackle is now moving to right tackle because he doesn't seem to handle the left tackle position. Your 3rd-round pick at center didn't really win that job outright in the way you wanted him to, so your offensive line is very shaky. And then the fact that you brought in 2 defensive backs to a shaky secondary the week before the season starts because you didn't find what you wanted in camp is kind of disheartening. And I guess I should...
Yeah, I'm not going to go shaky on the secondary. I'm going to say sin. You don't have enough players to do what you need them to do. You've got good players, but you don't have...
Yeah.
You have 4 good players. You don't have 7 good players, and you need 7 good players.
You do. And I have defended my friend Juju Smith-Schuster. I didn't mind any of the dancing on the logos. I don't mind filming, TikTok videos after the game or during the pregame. It didn't bother me. The milk crate challenge kind of broke me on him, though. Doctors have been telling people not to do this stupid thing. It is funny watching people get hurt from a jackass standpoint. But when your starting receiver a couple weeks before the season is on doing the milk crate challenge, it really bums you out.
Yeah, Juju's done probably the best job of preparing for life after football than anybody I've seen.
Yeah.
But he's still playing football.
And if he's going to continue to be popular, he needs to be good at football. And, he didn't get hurt, obviously, because we did not talk about him being hurt, but didn't like to see that. And then, obviously, the 20,000-pound elephant in the room is that, you have a 39-year-old quarterback who's had a lot of injuries. And I know, as he said, for the last decade that I've been alive, that he feels better this year than any other year. It's 17 games plus 4 weeks of playoffs, and I don't know if he can pull it together. And I've said before on the show, I won't go into it, but 3-6 in the last decade in the playoffs. Crap in the bed against Jacksonville, Denver, and Cleveland in games they should have won. It's just, I'm not super happy with my team right now, but I'm trying to get excited. I love Najee Harris. I like Claypool. I like, obviously we're about to sign T.J. Watt to be the most expensive player in the NFL on defense. So there are some positives here and there, but I think the other 2 teams look really good.
So give me your number of wins for the Steelers.
I think, and this is a weird, an odd thing to say about your team, but I think unfortunately they're in the 7 to 8 win kind of category where you're not going to be good enough to get a great quarterback or a great pick coming in next year. But you look at their schedule and they've got enough. They've 2 against the Bengals. They play the Lions, who we've already discussed. They play the Raiders, who we don't like. They've got a lot of very winnable games. And if history is any indication, they might split with the team that I'm picking to come in second because those 2 teams you throw records out when they're on the field, and that's the Ravens. That's who I have in second anyway.
Okay.
I can see them splitting a game with the Ravens just because Steelers-Ravens is the greatest rivalry in the NFL of the last 20 years, and they just, again, as stupid as those phrases are, like you throw out the records, but when those 2 teams play, you kind of do throw out the records. It's going to be
a war, and usually it's bad for one of the teams after the game because somebody important's got hurt.
Or everybody's just physically exhausted and they're not ready to play the next week. Yeah. The Ravens enter the season with a really good defense. They lost J.K. Dobbins, but they have Gus the Bus, and they, much like the Steelers wide receivers, the Ravens always seem to find somebody to run the football. But they have the same problem they have had for all of Lamar Jackson's years, which is only, I guess, 3 years. But Lamar's a great runner and a great regular season quarterback, but you don't know if he can make all the throws in all the right times. And then your first round pick, Rashard Bateman, is hurt. Hollywood Brown missed most of the preseason, and he's been somewhat of a disappointment so far. And the other, you signed Sammy Watkins off the Chiefs, but he hasn't proven to be able to be a healthy receiver for very long. And that's a team, I think, especially with Dobbins, who was a really exciting player. I think Gus the Bus and some of those other guys can fill in, but they're not J.K. Dobbins as far as explosiveness. And you got to wonder, is one of these receivers going to step up and be Lamar's go-to guy besides Mark Andrews at tight end?
But well thought out.
But still a really good football team. And I think slowly from listening to national media, I feel like Lamar Jackson is falling into that underrated category, bizarrely as that is. It's like, this is a former NFL MVP who you have to account for in every single play because he can take it to the house running the football just as easily as anybody else. And he's not nearly as bad at throwing as people seem to want to say. But I think their failure in the playoffs has sort of pushed him down the list.
All right, so I think we both have the Browns winning the division then. And first time I've ever used those words.
I was about to say things I never thought I would say out loud. Yeah.
I think the fact they won the playoff game last year was a big step forward for them.
Yes.
And I think they have the right coach with the right mentality in place. And I think he's got good control of that franchise. I think he's got good coordinators. I think he's got good game planning. And in all these years of being bad, he's got them some really, really unbelievable athletes.
Unbelievable athletes. And they have a great offensive line, and they have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt at running back, which is an insane 1-2 duo. You still have, you've got really good receivers, and people forget, like, maybe OBJ is never going to be the fun, exciting OBJ from the Giants, but he's still somebody you got to deal with. You have the steady, consistent, boring Jarvis Landry, but most importantly, you have Myles Garrett, who, after Aaron Donald, he's right in there with Chase Young as the most disruptive player on the front line.
No question.
Jadeveon Clowney is a really good signing because he's great at stopping the run and holding the point of attack. He's never going to be the guy that's going to get 15 sacks in a season that people somehow thought he was because he had a couple plays where he blew people up in college. But he's still a really solid guy across from Myles Garrett, who's now going to get single coverage all the time too and not be double teamed, which is, maybe makes him look even better. I think that was the best career move he could have made, is being opposite him. You got Denzel Ward and some nice safeties. They've just got, like you said, they put together the right roster. They've got the right coach in place. And Baker looked really good at the end of last year.
Yeah, he did.
It looked like this is an offense, a lot of motion, a lot of play action. A lot of it is just turning around and handing the ball to Nick Chubb, who is as good as any running back in football. And then when he's not in there, you bring in Kareem Hunt, a former Pro Bowler who only fell to you because of, obviously off the court, off the field, terrible issues. But again, it's weird to say. I think that, not only do I think the Browns are going to win the division, I think the Browns could win the Super Bowl.
Whoa.
I think they're capable. Now, again, that's asking a lot of Baker Mayfield, but I really think they're capable of. I think they have that much talent that they could win.
Yeah, they definitely could get there. There's no question about it. And whoever comes out of the AFC is probably going to be the favorite to win the Super Bowl again.
Well, I just imagine Myles Garrett and the rest of that defensive line. I know the Chiefs did a lot to address their offensive line, but, the Chiefs have had a little bit of attrition besides, obviously the offensive line being terrible in the Super Bowl and almost a complete turnover of their offensive line. But, they do lose to Sammy Watkins, and they lost, some other guys along the way that sort of filled in, and they don't look quite as exciting as they used to. And I could see it. I'm not saying I wouldn't pick it. I'm not going to put money on it, but I wouldn't be shocked. And I'm already shocked that I think the Browns are going to win this division, which is quite literally shocking. It's the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah. There you have it, listeners.
Well, I guess we should probably wrap up with just quick. Don't think about it. Who's the Super Bowl? Who's in the Super Bowl? Who's winning the Super Bowl?
Okay.
Since I brought it up, I'll go with mine first. If I'm, gun to my head right now, I think Tampa Bay beats Cleveland in the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Tampa Bay is so deep, and like I said, if Brady can physically make it onto a football field, I just have trouble betting against him.
I'm going to say it's a rematch between Tampa Bay and Kansas City.
Yeah, that was my other thought. I just wanted to throw another team out there for the hell of it, and it couldn't be Tampa Bay because they brought back everybody.
Not to bet against Brady.
Yeah.
Over the years. And they bring everybody back. Antonio Brown could even be better this year.
Yeah.
So, which makes that team even scarier on offense.
I know. It's really weird. They've just done a great job. And again, all you're waiting for is, the proverbial wheels to fall off of Brady. And I actually listened to Peyton Manning on Bill Simmons' podcast yesterday talking a little bit about what he and Eli are doing this year and how their broadcast is going to be a little bit different. But, they asked Peyton, when is this supposed to end? And Peyton Manning's like, it was already supposed to end. He's like, we've been in uncharted territories for 2 years. He's like, if he plays till 50, I guess I'm not surprised. And it's exactly true,
Yeah.
I mean, he's already defied every logical reason to keep playing, and he still keeps playing. So, good for him.
No, today we learned he had COVID after the Super Bowl, after the break.
Yeah.
And we also learned he's been vaccinated now. And that's now the new cause celeb for why you should be vaccinated. Because Tom Brady doesn't put anything in his body he doesn't trust. So if Tom Brady gets vaccinated, then everybody should be vaccinated.
And
that's the new mantra, by the way.
They are 100% vaccinated as an organization and a team. So, there you go.
Yep.
Which means if anybody does test positive, they're not going to miss as much guaranteed time, And that is one of the knocks on the Ravens is Lamar is not vaccinated, so he might miss a game every time he is close contact with somebody, where, none of the Buccaneers will. So we'll see.
And that is one of the reasons I didn't have winning the division. Because I figured they will.
Yeah.
That will happen.
It's one of the reasons, not to get on a vaccine thing, but, people said one of the reasons Cam Newton got let go is so Belichick thought he could sign with another team, but can you afford to bring Cam Newton, an unvaccinated player, into your locker room right now?
I really don't think you can. Especially if we're not going to reschedule games like we did last year, which really hurt the Steelers.
Yeah.
But we're going to make them forfeit. Imagine if those games the Steelers would schedule were forfeited.
Yeah.
They'd played 2 less games, and they would have been in much better physical shape, and they would have been resting players, and they would have been fine.
Exactly.
Oh, well, if it's in butts for candy and nuts, we don't have all the Christmas.
Exactly. Well,
I get some food moments, so I'm going to share my food moments.
Okay.
So I was in Seattle last week. I had 3 amazing dinners. The first dinner I had was at a place called Barolo, which is an Italian restaurant, and I had lobster risotto, which was to die for. The second night, we went to Ibar's Salmon House. And I'm not even a big salmon person, but I had the combination, which was a small piece of salmon, a small piece of halibut, and scallops.
Okay.
And it was awesome. It was great. Right on the water, had a great view, had a great dinner, really good. And the third night, I went to one of the more established restaurants in Seattle. I went to the Metropolitan Grill, which is a steakhouse.
Okay.
And had great steak, baked potato, French onion soup. That was outstanding. Also had a couple of great breakfasts. One in a place called The Glow, which when you go there, they ask you for your vaccine card. And they also charge you an extra $10 to buy a meal for a homeless person. And it was a great breakfast, and I was really happy to do that. Then I went to breakfast at a place called The Skillet, which was very, very good up on Capitol Hill. And then I also went to a very famous drive-in, which I stood in line for because we didn't have a car, but we stood in line for it. The line was the line was about 45 minutes long.
Oh, wow.
At Dick's Drive-In. And just very simple. It's like the old McDonald's menu: hamburger, cheeseburger, deluxe burger, fresh cut
Nice.
And, I tweeted about this place, but they pay $19 an hour. They pay full medical for their employees. They pay 401k for their employees. And they give them an allowance of either child care or tuition. So it's like $19,000 in benefits plus $19 an hour. And I told you offline, I said, if I can pay an extra dollar for my burger, and I know they're treating people that way, I'm happy to do that. So, some good things.
Yeah.
Great weather in Seattle. Enjoyed my time there. But a good week and great food and nice contrast. I came back here and slept up. The highest temperature I had when I was in Seattle was 75, which is usually the nighttime low in Tampa.
Yeah. Well, we got power back on last night, and we immediately binged Only Murderers in the Building, which is a Hulu show that Steve Martin wrote with Martin Short and Selena Gomez. And so far, it's a very solid B+. It's a very intriguing story. Martin Short, I think he's one of those people that a lot of people are just kind of annoying on screen, and I totally get that. And the beginning, when they're sort of introducing the building in New York, it sounds a little cliche. I feel like if it was a writer that wasn't Steve Martin, they probably would have made him edit it, but it's Steve Martin, so he gets to do what he wants to do. But once you get into the mystery of the story, which is basically three people that live in the building, there's a murder in the building, they're all true crime pod fans, and that's where they sort of bonded over the different generations of people, and they decide they're going to solve the murder. And the story's intriguing enough that I want to know what happened. And I would say we binged all 3 episodes that were available since we finally had power and TV and things, which was exciting after a week. I don't have a clue.
Sure.
Yeah, I have no clue who did it. So, and the person I think did it, I can't imagine actually did it, but but it's worth a watch. So there you go.
And I've been watching, again, Ted Lasso, but I've also been watching Truth Be Told with Octavia Spencer on Apple TV, and that's 8 episodes. I've been through 4. It's really, really good. I'm enjoying it quite a bit. So I would recommend that one as well.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm glad we were able to come and podcast today.
Yeah, I'm really glad. I'm glad Jason has power. I'm glad we were able to do our episode today.
So we'll be back next week. First NFL games will have taken place.
Yeah, let's do our show late on Sunday this time. So let's get so we have some of these first round NFL games.
I think that sounds great.
Okay. All right, everyone. Have a great week.